Nope, he doesn't.
Second, huh?
Second.
Hey, here, audio's on. Welcome to the Panama City CRA board meeting for June the 2nd at 4:30 p.m. We're going to start out with an opening prayer by Pastor Tim Crisco, Senior Pastor of Catalyst Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Brian Granger. Please rise.
I invite you to pray with me. Father God, as we come before you today to discuss important matters, we ask your guidance and your wisdom. For you are the source of all knowledge and understanding. Therefore, we seek your direction in our decision-making process. Help us to listen attentively to one another with open hearts and minds. May we not be quick to judge or criticize, but instead seek to understand different perspectives as we pray that you understand and you give us the discernment to make the best decisions for the greater good. We trust that you will guide us on this path and lead us to reach consensus that reflects your will. May our words and actions be guided by your love and your grace. On the heels of Memorial Day, let us remember the lives that have been lost defending the freedom of this country, for we are forever grateful and honored for them, for this country, and for the leadership in this country, and how we can experience freedom. How we can experience freedom in this country and freedom in you. Let us not take that for granted. We thank you and praise you. In your mighty name we pray. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Board Member Street.
Here.
Board Member Hughes.
Here.
Board Member Lucas.
Present.
Board Member Granger.
Present.
Chairman Branch.
Present.
All are present. We have a quorum.
I'm looking for a motion to accept the meeting minutes from May the 5th.
Motion to accept.
For the second? Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Board Member Street.
Yes.
Board Member Hughes.
Yes.
Board Member Lucas.
Yes.
Board Member Granger.
Yes.
Chairman Branch.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Any additions, deletions, or modifications to today's agenda?
None from staff, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none from the board, moving on to audience participation. Please come forward if you'd like to speak about anything related to the Panama City CRA and our authority. You have 3 minutes to chat, and please give us your name and address for the roll. Seeing none, I'm closing public comments, moving on to item 7.
Item number 7 is consideration and approval of the proposed redevelopment site preparation grant program, including the program guidelines, the grant application, the grant agreement, and the repayment agreement. As background information, at the April 7th, 2026 CRA board meeting, the CRA board directed staff to proceed with the creation of the redevelopment site preparation grant program for all 4 CRA districts. Staff then prepared draft program materials for board review, including a summary memorandum of board feedback, draft program guidelines, draft grant application, and draft scoring rubric. These materials were first brought forward to help identify the remaining policy issues that needed to be resolved before the program could be finalized. At our May 5th, 2026 CRA board meeting, the board reviewed the draft program materials and provided direction to staff on how the program should be revised moving forward. Since that meeting, staff has updated the draft program guidelines, the grant application, the scoring rubric, all to reflect the board's direction. Staff has also worked with the city attorney's office to prepare a proposed grant agreement, repayment agreement consistent with the board's decisions and direction. The materials being presented at this meeting represent the proposed finalized version of the redevelopment site preparation grant program. If approved today, the program will be ready to implement immediately. Staff recommends the board approve the proposed redevelopment site grant program, including the guidelines, application, agreement, and repayment agreement, so the program may be implemented effective immediately. However, Mr. Chairman and board members, we do have a couple of changes that I'd like y'all to consider today. If you'll look at page number 2, again, we are looking specifically at the site preparation grant program. This is based on feedback from some of you over the last week. So at page 2, if you'll look at the very top, it references that nonprofit organizations that own property within a CRA district, nonprofit applications shall be considered. The request was to change that to will be considered. on a case-by-case basis. And then if you look at the very bottom of page number 2 for eligible properties, it says be privately owned, publicly owned properties are not eligible. The request is to instead add in the language so that it now reads, publicly owned properties are generally not eligible and will be considered on a case-by-case basis by the board. Additionally, if you turn to page number 5, the application review process request from the board, from a board member, was to reduce the required time for staff to review from 15 days down to 10 business days. So again, bottom of page number 5, instead of 15 business days, it would be changed to 10. And then the last suggested change on page number 6, in the center part where it says procurement and competitive quotes, just making a change here to be perfectly in alignment with the wording that is used in the city's purchasing and procurement policy. Instead of competitive written quotes, it would be comparative, and then it would be $3,499.99. It's only when you hit the $3,500 is it required to be comparative. So again, those changes, as I just spelled out on page number 2, page number 5, and page number 6, and if needed, I'm happy to read those again if needed, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to accept the ordinance with the suggested changes, and we can go over those if we need to in the discussion.
So I'd like to, this is for discussion?
Well, yes, well, this
We're
is,
going to get the motion first, right?
yes, we get a motion, then we get a discussion.
And I'll motion.
All right, thank you.
Made one.
Yep, okay.
Motion.
Yep, we're in discussion.
Okay, so there's nothing strong in here about affordable housing. We've talked about it, and there's no additional points. They seem to have come out of this draft. I know we've moved away from points, but
Ma'am, on page 2, under eligible applicants, it talks about nonprofits will be considered, it says priority shall be given to projects that provide affordable housing or community serving uses.
but only in reference to nonprofits. So if there's a private or for-profit owner, it doesn't address affordability, which
How do
limits.
give me an example of what you mean by that.
So in instances now, when projects come forward, in some instances, there's a 10%, 20%, 30%. There's some encouragement toward providing affordable housing. And in particularly in some of the CRA neighborhood, well, not in some of them, it's all about blight and getting rid of blight and so forth, but also want to be able to have affordability as a, when we had the point system, there was some reference to it. We've removed the point system, and now the only reference is if in the off chance we have a nonprofit, is affordability or affordable housing addressed in this particular?
And so the staff correct, because I want to understand too, the affordable housing stuff is only available if it's a nonprofit, or?
The way it's written.
I think during the discussion at the last board meeting, that's what was discussed during nonprofits, was giving the priority to affordable housing.
So what I'm reading here,
It doesn't
there's
exclude-
nothing that precludes a for-profit company that does affordable housing. This just allows a provision for nonprofits, because CRAs generally are not for nonprofits.
Yeah, but it says a priority will be given to that, and that's what I'm saying. We're not
When
encouraging.
considering nonprofits.
I got you.
But
Okay, how about in the
Commissioner,
cap award, on the private guys, where it says no, 100,000 as the cap, but they can go above that on case-by-case basis? Could that be tied to affordable housing to get a, but see, we're only demoing, so could they get more for having an allocation of 20% in their project?
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know.
a priority given for those, because it's a case-by-case, first come, we're gonna look at it and determine, and I think part of the determination is ultimately what they want to do with the property.
Yes,
And we
ma'am.
want to encourage those who have affordable housing projects to be incentivized by this as well.
So your concern is the word priority?
that we don't give priority
Okay,
in any other place.
and I guess what I don't understand is when we use the word priority, what does that mean to staff? Does that mean, like, how do we interpret that in our day-to-day?
Like those go to the top of the list. If you give something priority, like it's considered ahead of other stuff.
So the way I read it was, obviously someone's coming in to make a profit on affordable housing, that would be, though it's affordable housing, somebody that's looking to not make a profit would be above them because more than likely their costs or their profit margins are not, basically it's a way to not subsidize their profit margin. That's what I interpret.
Do we have
So
multiple
I get that,
applications
what
out?
you're saying, Commissioner Street, and I agree with that, but there isn't the for-profit priority as well. So if we got 4 projects, none of them are affordable housing, okay, they're equal. But if one of them is, that should be a priority because of our need for affordable housing in the city.
So is there like some language that we could add?
But that doesn't,
I guess,
that doesn't give that to it with priority, under that example.
Do we have-
If one of the 4 is
I don't understand what we're solving.
nonprofit.
I don't know what we're solving for if we don't have the problem. So I guess whenever
We do a lot of these discussions.
and so I guess if the situation ever arose where we had multiple grants on the table arriving at the same time, I mean, to me, it would be if they all, there's a timely priority of like who put their application in first, right? So if someone walks in literally the same time in the door, wouldn't the first person be the priority, or are we holding things back for 30 days, or, like, I don't understand what
But we're approving all of these regardless.
Yeah.
Can we just
Approving
add
all
priority
and-
shall be given to projects that provide affordable housing in the first?
I think we can
bullet?
remove that whole line. I don't know what that actually
Then
is
that
doing
certainly
for us.
takes us away from the intent that we've expressed as a board for encouraging affordable housing in our city and using the tools that we are creating in order to do that.
So I think one of the things for me that got it, you had to make a decision, do nonprofits get to be in or not be in on the thing, because it's about property taxes maybe coming back to us and they don't pay that. It was one of the ways I was looking at it. And that's what, that priority of affordable housing, to me, kind of gave it a reason to be in the mix. Otherwise, the private guy doing affordable housing, the CRA is getting money back in terms of property taxes. So it kind of gave it a seat at the table.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But giving it priority, now they're all equal, it gets them there, but priority over what?
I don't understand whatever words.
But
We could use-
affordability needs to be the main point here.
Use whatever word, I don't know what it actually gets somebody.
Because remember, we're tearing stuff down, not building it.
No, I mean, like,
But we're tearing it down to build.
To build, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Live Local, it focuses on nonprofits, churches, getting them to activate their spaces for affordable housing specifically. Should they be ranked higher, being a nonprofit, than a for-profit entity?
That's not my question.
I'm confused.
Okay.
We've addressed the nonprofit. We haven't addressed affordability, just generally.
Okay, so give me the solution.
Add the same sentence with the exception or community service using to the first bullet. Priority shall be given to projects that provide affordable housing, period.
What page is that, James?
Page 2.
So for-profit property owners, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Say the whole sentence again for me, I'm slow.
Priority shall be given to projects that provide affordable housing.
And so what does that actually mean that staff is going to be doing? That's what I don't understand.
Same thing it means in the third bullet.
We could remove it from both of them if we want to.
No,
What I don't want to do is
I
set
don't
staff
want
up with
to.
this confusion.
The way I interpret it is that if we did have multiple grant applications, let's pick one district, Millville, and there's only $100,000 available in the budget for this grant program. And we have 2 applications, one's proposing to do affordable housing and one is not, and they would get the 100,000, it's a cap of 100,000. So then we would not consider, or we would we're gonna bring all of them to you guys and y'all may
We're
say,
gonna approve them.
That's what my confusion
That's
is.
why
We're gonna, the priority is whatever the board votes for.
Right.
Is
I mean,
it-
essentially,
there's a
essentially
scoring
what I
rubric.
understand.
no,
No,
we
you
took that
removed
out.
that.
Okay. The priority, there's got to be something that is attached to that affordability under that example that moves it up. It gets an extra, it gets an extra point.
But what does move up mean?
They all come to us.
They all come to us, but
Okay.
that staff is saying, these people are gonna build affordable, so they get priority over these guys.
I guess I
But
still.
That means they would get the funding over the other
We want
one.
them to come to
Yeah,
us.
I mean, I'm fine with saying we would
Yeah, I
love
don't-
these
I don't
We
need to say-
processes.
define what the priority is when they come to us.
Right, but again, staff processes them in 10 days. They bring them to the next meeting.
Yes.
What does the priority actually mean? They go, we're gonna wait, we're gonna process yours slower and yours faster? Or like, what does that actually mean?
I think it mattered more when there was a point system. I don't know that any of this matters.
Yeah.
Well,
Then why are we doing it?
I think that's Alan's question is
Yeah,
what
we
is
can
No,
the-
no, why are
what
we
is the-
doing,
we can
if none of it matters, why
No,
are we doing this?
he's talking about like the idea of any priority because it doesn't actually mean anything in the workflow of their day. Of like, they're now not holding
just
something
sounds
back.
good.
I mean,
It
we can,
sounds like we've done something when in reality,
we can always put projects we'd like to see, affordable housing in there. But what I don't want to do is set staff up for some expectation of a priority when there isn't really a priority to give.
so yesterday when that guy was talking about, finding ways to make it be cheaper, putting it up next to the road, not being in the floodplain. Here's a way that you can, the priority is, we're going to help that affordable housing project by doing the dirt versus the private guy because they're doing affordable. They get that over, everybody qualifies, but because you're doing affordable, we're going with you. I think that's a way to look at it. Doesn't necessarily.
But it
Okay,
enters our conversation.
Yeah, but to me, that's a part of us voting when we have two of them coming forward, we all are gonna be using our lens of, okay, well, I'd rather see this project over that project.
Right.
This forces us into that decision before we've even had the opportunity to make it. So if two
No, it
grants
just says
come
that has
forward.
more weight to it from the
Okay,
staff.
I mean, I'm fine
I'll
with putting.
concede to may, priority may be given to the
Yeah, I mean, I'm
projects.
fine with anything. What I don't want to do is set staff
Yeah.
up for something that I don't know what they're actually doing, what priority means. I think that means the way we're going to be looking at it, if we have two options, a for-profit and affordable housing, we're going to agree that affordable housing is something we want more than a nonprofit, which I'm fine with. I thought it was a processing time. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now that we're clear. Okay, any other discussion on the,
I did
So
have,
priority may be given to the projects that provide affordable housing. Thank you.
And which point is that going after? Number one?
Number one.
All right.
right.
Well, it'll be on 1 and 3, right?
so,
Just on one, it says affordable, it ends at affordable housing.
not to continue the conversation, but it does bring up, like reading this, like the CRA board reserves the right to approve, deny, and modify nonprofit applications at its sole discretion. Do we not have that same right with for-profit organizations?
We do.
we can vote on yes, no, and
So
either.
why,
So the reason I believe it's here is because of what we run into, understanding that nonprofits generally are not, excuse me, approved because they don't return to the tax base. And the reason for the CRA and the way it's set up is to turn blighted properties into non-blighted and contributing to the tax base, which raises the value, which it's done very successfully in St. Andrews.
I like it. All right, what else?
Two things on that page, and I brought it up with staff. Developers and purchasers with fully executed purchase agreement, still up at the top. I just want to make sure that the seller has to sign a document in this, and that they know that, agreeing to asking for this grant. Because it's under contract, you're really doing it for the buyer, but the seller's got to give authorization, just like if they're at the planning board.
Yep.
So that needs to be said somewhere so that the public knows that. And then the one at the bottom, what was it, did you ask for the change?
Yeah, so the fourth bullet point under eligible properties at the bottom of page 2, it will now read, be privately owned, period. Publicly owned properties are generally not eligible and will be considered on a case-by-case basis, so it leaves it open for the board's flexibility. And I used will instead of shall.
We're going to give a grant to publicly owned property.
If you want to, you're the board.
We're us. We do it to our, maybe we're doing a partnership with somebody?
Well, one example is the Panama City Housing Authority, not us, but the Panama City Housing Authority owns a piece of property. But they don't use it for housing. It's an organization. So I think at that point, staff would be comfortable putting that recommendation for you to consider.
Okay.
Do we want to go through all the changes? Do we have staff go through the changes?
I would like to read just one more time
Yep.
if we're good. All right, so what I captured, and I trust Ms. Waldron and Ms. Sagehorn are taking notes as well, but on page 2, the very first point under eligible applicants, it will read, for-profit property owners holding fee simple title to property located within a CRA district, period, priority may be given to projects that include affordable housing.
Yep.
All right?
Brian
And
had one
then
more
at the
change.
bottom of page 2, what I just read.
No, Robbie had the second bullet
Oh,
point.
I'm sorry, which one?
Second bullet point.
Oh, yep, let me see what, yeah, I have it written down here. Instead of shall, under the third bullet point, it says will
And on the
instead of
second,
shall.
we're going to add something about the seller has to sign an authorization because it's under contract. Fully executed purchase agreement, we got to get seller's authorization on that, even though it's for the buyer.
Commissioner,
Board member.
what are you, board member?
Struggling.
You,
Dude, how
hey,
about that?
you,
Yeah. Mouth. Yeah.
Yes, we can just, I was going to look back in the language in in planning, because the owner has to approve of any application for rezoning. So I think just a statement that the property owner must consent to any application.
It works. Yep, great, yes, sir. Just need the citizens to know that, yes, sir.
Right.
Okay.
All right,
Mr.
let
Hayes?
me start over then, Mr. Chairman. All right, so under page 2, eligible applicants, first point, we will add at the end of the first sentence that shall remain, priority may be given to projects that include affordable housing. The second point that says developer or purchasers with a fully executed purchase agreement, period. And what I heard Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Hughes just say is that the property owner must, wow, I cannot read my own
Must
writing.
consent to any application.
Yeah, consent to an application. Third point, second line, we're changing applications shall be considered to applications will be considered. At the bottom of page 2, the final point under eligible properties, we will edit that last sentence to say be privately owned, period. Publicly owned properties are generally not eligible and will be considered on a case-by-case basis. Page 5, at the very bottom, under application review process, we will change 15 business days to now be 10 business days. And then changing the language on page 6, under procurement and competitive quotes, to align with the city's purchasing and policy procurement manual, rather, to say comparative rather than competitive, and clarifying that it's $3,499.99, not $3,499.00.
I have a question.
Okay.
Keep in mind that these are people that don't do competitive bid stuff on a regular basis. Now, I know it's government money. And to go out and have them get 3 bids on their project for each sub slows it down. So could we make it, if we're going to stick with that, can we make it the best bid, not the lowest bid?
How do you define best, though?
Well, or most, when y'all, most responsive? I don't know.
So imagine us having to pay $500,000 for a tear down because they were the most responsive.
Well, that's true. Now, we get to vote on it, but
Yeah.
I'm concerned that we're going to have, I'm concerned about the 3 bid process, because
Yeah.
everything's going to be over $3,400.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes there is a cost of like, it's not worth the trouble.
Right.
Right. We don't want to do that either, but
But it is-
I don't know a way to
Well,
have a program that doesn't.
Let me
look like
clarify,
the lowest bid.
and this is not semantics, the words matter. It's not a bid, so it's not really that formal. All I have to do is I can send an email on Monday morning at 8 a.m. to Robbie's demo service, Janice's demo service, and Alan's demo service, and say, we want this property demoed. You have 48 hours to please provide me a quote. And if Robbie and Janice both respond and you don't, that's fine, because I gave you the chance to give me a quote. And so then I look at the quote from Robbie and the quote from Janice after 48 hours, and I make a decision before I go home on that Wednesday. It's really that simple when you're doing a comparative quote. It is not a competitive bid that takes a month, and you have to analyze it, and you're stuck with it and all of that. So it is very, very simple.
Who's going to be here to teach the public that, because only the government
This
knows
is-
how to.
Well, it's
that
spelled out in
operates.
our procurement,
Yeah.
I mean, and I believe the CRA board has adopted the city's purchasing and procurement policy. So y'all would have to change that in order to get away, and I would advise against
Just
that.
going through the forensic audit, you don't want to, you keep it the same.
And this is exactly the same in
If we
our,
want to change the city's policy, then we can change but I would not have two separate policies.
I agree.
We're relying on staff
I'm
to
after
be
that.
great at customer
We're on a
service.
mission.
So,
All right.
and just for consistency's sake, it's the same in our CPI program as well. So our commercial grant program, and our program managers assist the business owners with getting the quotes. They help, so.
Any other questions? No? All right, can we have an amendment of the motions?
Amend my motion to include what was discussed.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Board Member Street,
Yes.
Board Member Hughes,
Yes.
Board Member Lucas,
Yes.
Board Member Granger,
Yes.
Chairman Branch.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
all right, item number 8 is consideration and approval of the amended Panama City Community Redevelopment Agency Commercial Property Improvement, or CPI, grant program guidelines for the Millville CRA District for FY26. On the background information, on December 2nd, 2025, the CRA Board approved the Commercial Property Improvement Grant Program guidelines for the Millville CRA District. As originally approved, the program was primarily focused on eligible commercial properties located on the US 98 East 5th Street corridor, generally between Bay Avenue and Everett Avenue. The intent of the program was to encourage exterior improvements to commercial buildings, enhance building appearance, support property maintenance, reduce visible signs of blight, strengthen reinvestment along one of the primary commercial corridors within the Millville Community Redevelopment Area. Since the program's approval, the CRA staff has made several attempts to engage businesses within the original target corridor through email, social media, in-person outreach. However, despite these efforts, the CRA has received only one application and approved one grant. To increase participation and better support commercial reinvestment throughout the Millville CRA district, staff is proposing to amend the program guidelines to expand eligibility to all eligible commercial properties located within the Millville Community Redevelopment Area boundaries, rather than limiting the program to the US 98 East 5th Street corridor. The amended program will continue to provide up to 10 grants of up to $15,000 each for a total program grant application of $150,000, subject to funding availability and compliance with program requirements. Staff recommends approval of the amended Commercial Property Improvement Grant Program guidelines for the Millville CRA District for FY26, expanding eligibility to all eligible commercial properties located within the Millville Community Redevelopment Area boundaries. However, Mr. Chairman and board members, we do have similar changes that Ms. Waldron just referenced. If you'll turn to page 5 for the CPI, we want to, very last point on the page, we want to change that to be 14 business days to 10 business days for submittal, similar to the other one, just to make sure that we are responding just as quick as possible. And then, and I'll come back to page 2 in a second, but if you turn to page 8, similar, changing the word there under option 2, CRA direct vendor payment. We want to change that to be comparative rather than competitive, and changing the number to $3,499.99.
Where are you?
I'm on page 8,
Okay.
changing the competitive to comparative and then making it $3,499.99. The other question that was suggested earlier this afternoon, and I did message Mr. Zimmerman about this, going back to page number 5, the question is, can we completely strike the section that says residentially zoned, which this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Point number 8, residentially zoned properties, government and public agencies, tax-exempt organizations, and religious institutions are not eligible. Possibly rewording that to give maximum flexibility to the board, or striking it altogether. Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Let's
I
just
know
go-
that was
let's
a
just-
doozy.
Let's just
So-
talk about it before we do the vote.
Yeah.
So what is the suggested language? Would we,
Mr. Chairman, I might recommend maybe just voting for the 2 simple items, changing to 10 days and then changing to comparative, and then let's try to tackle that 8th
all right, let's
point
do
on
it.
page
Is there a
1.
motion to accept the 2 changes suggested by staff?
Second.
Can we talk?
Yep.
The 90 days, so we move it from 14 to 10 at the bottom of page 5, and then they have 90 days, up to 90 days to get back to them.
Can you, where is that,
Remember,
Mr.
an interest
Hughes?
meter's ticking when we're asking,
Where's the 90
the
days?
bottom.
Well, that's you, the board,
it's
not us.
depending on the
I know.
timing, depending on the timing, that could probably go down some, but, you know, depending, we only have one board meeting a month.
Okay,
So,
so if I get in late for this month, I should be able to make next month, right? The
On
late,
a rare occasion, we do cancel a CRA meeting.
that's true.
What would be another number we could put on there that would be sooner than 90 days? 45, 60?
45.
45
Probably.
work for y'all?
I would think
It's
45.
us, it's the CRA board meeting.
Yeah, but they have to get it ready to come to us to vote, and
We have the agenda posted the week out, so we would need, some time to get everything prepared for the agenda.
I would rather we have to extend it because they're working hard to get it done, and we miss, than, not that y'all are lazy, but somebody else is, and if we give them time, and I'm just thinking in terms of, we need to take care of the person
Yeah.
trying to get the money.
So if we miss a deadline, does that legally put us in hot water?
Just as far as the deadline, your own self-imposed deadline?
Yeah.
In the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
well, maybe that.
Guilty in the, yeah.
Guilty.
We're always guilty for that one.
Yeah. I'm fine with whatever suggested.
If you say 60 days, but don't say business, that's about 47-ish business days. So I don't think that's unreasonable to say 60 days.
60
But
days.
leave it as calendar days.
Calendar days.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In fact, we can say 60 calendar days if y'all want to amend the motion for that.
60 calendar days, okay. Do we want to go ahead and discuss the residentially zoned property, striking that or changing the verbiage? We're already in
I
discussion.
think Mr. Zimmerman needs to weigh in on that, so
Well, we got a motion that only addresses.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a motion on the table that goes from 14 days to 10 days, from 90 days to 6 days, and then changes on page 8 to comparative
and 34.99.99.
and 34.99.
Yes, sir.
And we have a motion and a second on the table. Do we have any more discussion?
Amend my motion to accomplish what's being said.
I'm in my second.
Okay, there, we're gonna make it super official. Please call the roll.
Board Member Street?
Yes.
Board Member Hughes?
Yes.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, now let's discuss the residentially zoned properties, government and public agencies. Do we want to strike that completely, or do you have new verbiage you'd like us to adopt?
I get the residential because that's in the first one. But this is working on the building, right? I mean,
Correct.
this is an improvement to the building. This is for commercial in the corridor that's kind of left out. So I get taking that out. Government, I don't know why we're helping government, but public agencies, but that example. And then I guess tax exempt or nonprofits.
I mean, it says commercial property improvement grant
Exactly.
program, so.
Yeah.
uh,
I think you ought to be a commercial property getting improved. But we have a facade grant
No,
already.
That's what this,
It's going to turn into, right?
and this is
Grant
for
had a baby.
exterior only improvements up to $15,000. In the Millville district only. This is only for the Millville district.
Right.
I believe we did help out a church, though, Mr. Chairman. Correct, staff?
Get You a Box is the only
Right. It's the
organization
only one we've helped.
that has,
They were painting the
we've been
stairs the other day.
approved.
I don't think we've done a church.
No, I'm pretty sure we did a church.
No.
In some way, we've helped a church out in the last 3 years, correct?
No.
I don't know why I thought that. I
No,
thought
you're
we did
thinking-
too.
You're thinking hometown revival.
All right, maybe it was
We
4
have
years
never
ago.
done-
I don't know.
We did have a request
Jonathan,
from
mark
a
this down.
church.
Jonathan wasn't right.
I know, wow. I burned that up in
Church's
June.
Chicken.
We,
Yeah,
we've
that's
never,
over Parker.
in the last 5 years, I don't recall ever doing a nonprofit.
Maybe is there an application from a church right now?
There was
That's
a-
what it
there was
is.
a
That's what it
request,
is.
yeah.
There's a
There was a
request
request,
that's been made. That's what it is.
Devin,
So
can
we're
you,
giving away money, they would quit.
I was only half wrong, Mr. Chairman.
Devin, can you walk through the suggestion to strike this out and the purpose of that? For the alternative language?
There's, from a legal perspective, it can be stricken or it can remain. It's a policy decision. And I believe you had voted as a matter of policy that you wanted to go ahead and do this so public agencies and not-for-profits wouldn't apply.
And then who suggested to remove it? Didn't Jonathan? Jonathan, didn't you suggest to remove it?
Not me.
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with one of the board members, and I just, again, do we want to maximize flexibility too? So plus it would preclude one of the ones that has, one of the ones that we've had conversations with potentially using it, they would not be able to
I mean,
utilize
if we want to
that. And then
experiment
again,
in Millville.
and
I
the
mean,
church,
that's fine,
and the church
but-
did ask as well.
Yeah, I mean, as far as from this is just what I've observed. I mean, we've had multiple churches that have requested inside of St. Andrews, and we have not done that.
Right.
So,
So let's just, Panama
It
City.
doesn't change the tax base, so it's not creating forward momentum as in your work program. That's really
And to
it.
your point, it's named the Commercial Property Improvement Grant Program.
But
By that, you should leave it in then.
So then part of this eliminates Panama City Housing Authority, correct?
Well, they're considered a public
Government
agency.
agency.
Yeah.
That's-
Have they come forward for
The
anything?
Boys and Girls Club.
So I think the question would be, are we trying to improve blight or are we trying to increase the tax base?
wait,
I'm so
This was intended to be a targeted grant program for just the US 98 corridor.
That's
That-
right.
And what we are bringing it back, y'all approved this back in December for that purpose. We're bringing it back to open it up because we've only had one application even after Michelle going door to door.
What's
So
your goal here?
to the whole Millville district.
Reduce blight.
He speaks.
The whole purpose of this, the intent of this was twofold, to eliminate blight and improve commercial properties that improves the tax base. That was the purpose of this. And it is limited to only 15,000.
look, I can be convinced to experiment and see what the results are of it. If there's a good reason for, removing it. I mean, it's literally only limited to
Yeah.
Millville that it would affect.
Mr. Chairman, might I suggest that you do something similar to the site prep where you put are generally not eligible and are subject to a review on a case-by-case basis like we did, just to maintain
go.
flexibility for the board and staff, that's all.
Does that work?
That works for me.
So what I did was we put in,
But
so it would just say at the very end, it would say, and religious institutions are generally not eligible and will be considered on a case-by-case basis.
So what are we trying to do? I mean, we've heard Boys and Girls Club, we've heard Panama City
So
Housing
staff
Authority.
told me that they have been in constant contact with Boys and Girls Club, assuring me, and then when I called Boys and Girls Club, they had not been in contact with. And the Boys and Girls Club, the land that they are on is owned by the Panama City Housing Authority. So these adjustments are to help the Boys and Girls Club, correct?
They are one of the ones that will be helped,
Which
yes,
is the whole
sir.
purpose of this. But I'm more upset that I've been asking staff, have you been communicating to the Boys and Girls Club and other potential applicants? Yes, we have. And then when I called today, no, they had not. So now we're up here making the sausage again, when this all should have been taken care of with communication to the people who were interested in this program.
But this program is a rehab or pretty up for existing buildings, right? Not building.
Is this different than the program that we just
Yes,
talked about?
yes,
So
this
this
is
does
a
not, does
different
this have
program.
does this has any impact on Boys and Girls Club, on this one?
If you make the modifications I'm suggesting, they could be eligible. That's what I'm trying to say.
okay.
What I'm trying to do
But
is
guess
just
what
give,
happens-
Making this around one organization.
I know, I'm just trying to give the board
We're
flexibility,
trying
that's
to
all.
leave flexibility.
Yes.
And, I'd love to be able to help the Boys and Girls Club, and I wish staff had all this worked out with Boys and Girls Club to make sure that we didn't have to be up here making the sausage, but here we are. So I'd like this language changed to ensure that Boys and Girls Club is one of the people who we can help in this program, what we've been talking about for 6 months, to help them get back opened.
But this doesn't help that get back open.
Yeah,
That's the
I
thing.
think you're talking about the site grant. That's the one that we've been talking about for Boys and Girls Club. This is one that was a targeted thing for US
Then
98.
why is Jonathan making the suggestion that we remove it when there's no one that's helping? That's what I'm so confused about right now. Jonathan, be specific on why are we talking about removing this or altering this if there's no one that we're helping?
So I'll make a motion to approve this, removing residentially zoned governmental public agency tax exempt organization religious institutions that are not eligible for a period of 1 year, and we'll evaluate after that. How about that? Good?
I'll second.
Discussion.
We had that.
I know.
Okay.
For a period of 1 year. I mean.
Let's see how it
but
goes.
The problem I have is the same problem I had when this first came up. We've got a situation now where we're trying to go, okay, let's make it fit. Let's make this square situation fit in this round peg. And we haven't worked it through. And, when the next organization that doesn't fit comes, are we going to do the same thing? That's where we begin to get muddied. So yes, we need to figure things out before we get to this point. I agree with you on that. And have it worked out, know what the rules are, and apply them. And then if we need to change the rules prior to, we have all of that instead of, what we're doing now.
This is for one CRA, but if we set it up, it can be modeled for the other three.
Hey,
And making it for rather than one organization, it needs to fit the whole area, but it can fit all four, maybe. I'm concerned, to Janice's point, if we set it up now that way and somebody else comes in and they don't get it, what does that do? Is that put us in a bad spot? So if we set it up across the board, everybody's treated fairly, and the only way to do that is if churches aren't getting anything in St. Andrews, why do they get it in Millville?
I don't think every CRA district has to act and be the same. They all have different issues, they all have different funding, they all have different problems.
And different objectives at that period of time, looking at the work program, and I mean, I'm not saying there's never an issue that I would ever consider, that, hey, I mean, if right now, if a church was coming and they're saying, hey, let's start a daycare program, with the way we're at with childcare programs, that may be like something to support. I don't know about from CRA, but I'm just saying that I think testing it for a year allows us to get through and see what the ramifications are of it. And then, hey, if we get 15 applications, then we'll sort through 15 applications. If we get no applications, then, maybe it was just one person that had a need. That was it.
So there's a motion and a second on the table. Can you clarify the verbiage?
It would be just to remove that for 1 year and then see how it goes and then readdress it with the board in 1 year. So I would say June 1 of 2027, we'll revisit it at the first meeting in June.
Any other discussion?
So we're taking this out, but to bring it back in a year, the whole thing is.
Just the one line.
With some type of report from staff on how it happened, who applied.
I'm not hearing the same thing. You're leaving it in.
No, I'm taking it out. I motioned to take it out fully.
Okay.
For a year.
So what is staff gonna do?
They're gonna operate the program without this exclusion. So.
And bring back a
anybody
report.
could, yeah, and then at the end of the year, we'll look at it and, hey, this was great, let's continue to do it, maybe we expand it elsewhere, or, hey, this didn't work, like, we need to do something different.
Should we just remove the word "not" and keep them on there as they are eligible?
What makes them
No.
eligible?
No.
I think he wants to try to allow them to be eligible for 1 year.
But they're eligible if you remove that they're not eligible, correct?
Well, the motion and the second is to remove the entire line. We also have guidelines by which we must run the CRA. So, I mean, some of these things are going to be precluded in those guidelines, right? Or in the plan that we have.
I'm clear, we're striking this, we'll run the program for a year, revisit the entire program.
Yeah, that's,
Any other discussion?
I mean, unless that actually does not resolve what we're talking about resolving.
I believe it does.
Okay,
Gives flexibility.
Please call the roll.
Board Member Street?
yes.
Board Member Hughes?
Yes.
Board Member Lucas?
I understand that I am voting to, if I say yes, to strike the entire sentence from this.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item number 9 is consideration and approval for the Panama City Tax Increment Rebate Program application submitted by Golden Developments LLC for the properties located at 534 Oak Avenue, 541 Oak Avenue, and an unaddressed parcel on Oak Avenue in the authorization to execute a performance agreement. On May 14th of this year, Art Gage Golden, on behalf of Golden Developments LLC, submitted an application under the program for the redevelopment of 3 properties located at an unaddressed parcel on Oak Avenue, as well as 534 and 541 Oak Avenue, located within the CRA's Downtown North District. In accordance with program requirements, staff reviewed the application for completeness. Following this review, the executive director completed his evaluation and provided his recommendation, determining the project meets the criteria set forth in the TIF program, or Tax Increment Rebate Program guidelines for an award rate determined to be 80% of eligible project costs based on the project's revitalization and expansion of a deteriorated building for a creation of commercial, retail, and office space not to exceed $337,101.78, and not to exceed a duration of 15 years. Staff recommendation by the Executive Director recommends that the CRA Board approve this Panama City Tax Increment Rebate Program application submitted by R. Gage Golden. Mr. Chairman?
I will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Discussion.
Just a question. First, the statement, definitely something that's needed on this part of North Downtown. 1.2 million of it is in land acquisition costs, though. And we want to rebate that and provide the rebate for that.
No, well, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but this is the TIF program that is the only money that they get back is the money they create in the step up of their investment. Meaning, there's a baseline of when they purchase it, and there's a new baseline of their assessment, and that step up that they've created, the additional taxes they create, they get back a certain percentage.
Correct.
That's to spend $500,000, right?
Yeah, so if the building assesses lower than what we're all guessing, it's on them. Right? So this is a estimated amount, and it may come in much less than that. So they only get the money back that they create.
So the 337,000 is based on what they create, not the land acquisition and the
Yeah,
whole
it's
2.9
taxable.
million.
It's a
Yeah, like tax
maximum,
roll.
I'm sorry?
it's a maximum that they could get rebated back to them.
It doesn't go off of, this is all about the property appraiser assessing it. So it assesses it before they buy it, at the time of purchase, and then at the time when they're done, that's the capture. It's not about how much, they could put in 10 million and the building only goes up $50. Or they may put in $50 and it goes up 10 million, but it's only their money that they get back.
Okay.
Any other discussion? On the roll.
Board Member Street?
Yes.
Board Member Hughes?
Yes.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Second.
Nope.
Mr. Chairman,
Wrong.
I just had two comments very
Yes, please.
quickly. Your agenda item had mentioned approval also of a grant, redevelopment site preparation grant agreement. That model agreement was not attached. It came in, we got it in late, so it'll be distributed to you and it'll be available for you to approve at the next meeting. It will not slow anybody down, and if somebody can get here by the next meeting, you'll see a grant agreement filled out, then you can approve it then. So I just wanted you to know when you see it, oh, I thought I'd approved it. It was not attached. Second, just to clarify that the Boys and Girls Club, they are eligible to apply for the redevelopment site prep grant, and they're eligible for 20% of their eligible cost up to $100,000. So that is a different grant, but they are eligible for that. And now they're also eligible for this other one. Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? And a second, please call the roll.
Board Member Street?
Yes.
Board Member Hughes?
Yes.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Granger?
Yes.
Chairman Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Meeting adjourned.